welcome to this edition of Border Report Live. My name is Rudy Mideles, your host here in Harlingen, Texas, in the Rio Grande Valley of deep South Texas. Got a packed edition for you today, but first we begin with some breaking news on the arrest of a mariachi band member from McAllen High School here in South Texas that has shocked the entire Rio Grande Valley community. Now, dozens of people attended a protest at a detention facility in Raymondville, Texas on Sunday. That's where 18-year-old Antonio Gamez-Cuellar was being held, according to Democratic Congressman Vicente Gonzalez, who represents Cameron County. And I say was being held because just a few moments before we came on the air this afternoon, this is what happened. And this is a breaking news that we have here coming in. It is 2:22 p.m. and who you see there on your screen in the pink speaking at the podium is Congresswoman Monica de la Cruz of the 15th Congressional District of Texas. And standing to her right, your left on the TV screen in the maroon T-shirt there is 18-year-old Antonio Gamez-Cuellar, who was being held in the Raymondville ICE detention facility. We are working to get her audio up, but it looks to be that this 18-year-old, who we're going to hear more about in just a second, has officially been released. Again, it is 2:22 p.m. here in Texas Central Standard Time, and this is a live look as that young man that we've been reporting on all weekend, Antonio Gamez-Cuellar, is released out of the ICE detention facility. Still no word yet on the rest of his family, his mom, dad, and two younger brothers in the Dilley facility, but we are keeping a close eye and monitoring that situation. We have a team on the ground there as well, but what you are looking at right now is a live look at the release of Antonio Gamez-Cuellar from that detention facility in Raymondville. We're going to bring you more updates as this develops, but it looks like it was a very quick speech from the Congresswoman there as Gamez-Cuellar makes his way to a vehicle with her. Again, that is Congresswoman Cuellar in the pink, in the maroon shirt to her right there, being followed by what looks to be the Congresswoman's staffers. Is Antonio, the 18-year-old that was separated from his family. We do have a statement from ICE saying that since he is 18 years old, he is considered a male without children, and which is why he did not go to the Dilley facility with the rest of his family. We are keeping a close eye on this, so stand by for more on this developing situation. And again, we have some more breaking news to share with you on this story. Just a few moments ago from the candidate for the Democratic side of the ticket facing off with Monica de la Cruz, who we just saw there in the pink, standing next to Gamez-Cuellar, is Bobby Pulido. And on his campaign page, just a few moments ago, he says, in part, thanks to massive outpouring of support over the weekend, the Gamez-Cuellar family is coming home today. Monica de la Cruz was told about the Gamez-Cuellar family 2 weeks ago on February 25th. 2 days later, she said she couldn't do anything about it. It shouldn't take public pressure for representatives to do their jobs, and we have to keep fighting for the people that are in the same situation that we haven't heard about. Now, we do have a team in Dilley standing at Dilley, the Dilley facility, just north of us, about 4 hours away, just south of San Antonio or so. We're waiting to hear more on if the rest of the family is getting released. But getting back to the full story, Congressman Vicente Gonzalez told us that Gamez-Cuellar and his family, including two younger siblings and both parents, were arrested by ICE agents reportedly after they went for a scheduled meeting with Department of Homeland Security officials regarding their immigration asylum cases. Gamez-Cuellar is a senior at McAllen High School right here in the Rio Grande Valley, and he's a member of the 2026 Texas state-winning mariachi band Mariachi Oro. He was being held in the Raymondville facility because he's an adult, as we mentioned in that breaking news. Now, the parents and siblings who are in 6th and 9th grades are being held at the Dilley Detention Facility. Again, it's a family detention facility operating in South Texas, about 90 miles southwest of San Antonio. Now, Gonzalez says they came in May 2023 during the Biden administration under what was then the CBP One app that allowed them to legally cross into the United States and remain in country while their immigration cases played out after they passed a credible fear test, meaning that they had proven that they had a reason to leave their home country to seek asylum in the United States. President Trump, as we've reported right here on Border Report Live and borderreport.com, ended the CBP-1 app a year ago when he took office. Gonzalez says what's happening to them now is wrong.
This is a young man who is part of our community, who is participating in events with the educational system in the Rio Grande Valley. They've complied with the law. They showed up. These are not criminals that we all want to get rid of, right? These are not the folks who the administration said they were going to target. These are law-abiding citizens that are not here illegally, that have a legal status to be here. And it's really just cruel what we're starting to see. They're separating families, folks who have been in our community now for years.
Now, Republican Congresswoman Monica de la Cruz, who represents McAllen, who we just saw on that bit of breaking news that we played for you a moment ago, had told us earlier today that she had been in touch with the White House, new incoming DHS Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen, and border czar Tom Homan, as well as local school district officials about the arrest. We'll have more on what she was saying during that press conference, very short press conference, may I add, in a little bit, but she said to us in a statement, quote, "I have reached out to the superintendent to ensure these students maintain access to their education during this difficult time. We will also be visiting with the family very soon. Rest assured that I am doing everything in my power to help them resolve this matter as quickly as possible." Again, going back to that statement we just got from her Democratic challenger in this year's midterm election, Bobby Polito, Monica de la Cruz, quote, "Monica de la Cruz was told about the Gámez-Cuéllar family 2 weeks ago on February 25th. 2 days later, she said she couldn't do anything about it," end quote. Now, as far as local reaction, Republican McAllen Mayor Javier Villalobos said this on social media, quote, "I have emphasized the importance of securing our borders to ensure the safety of our community. That, however, must always be balanced with creating lawful, responsible pathways for law-abiding individuals who want to contribute to our economy, support their families, and become productive neighbors in McAllen. I am not talking amnesty, I'm talking a lawful pathway to employment for the benefit of the individuals and our community," end quote. Again, pointing out that Mayor Villalobos is a well-known and prominent Republican in the South Texas community. Now, the family is from Mexico, where the children learned to play mariachi music. Mariachi Oro members, the group they were a part of at McAllen High School, actually visited Washington, D.C. after they placed second at the national championships last year, according to reports. Now, today, several lawmakers are scheduled to tour the Dilley facility. Again, we have a team there standing by as Democratic Congressman Joaquin Castro San Antonio is scheduled to hold a press conference on what he sees this afternoon. We will have more on all of these stories for you on borderreport.com, but we did finally, after reaching out all weekend to the Department of Homeland Security, get a statement. And in that statement, a DHS spokesperson sent to us about an hour ago, it reads in part, "On February 25th, ICE arrested Emma Guadalupe Cuellar Lopez and Luis Antonio Gamez-Martinez, 2 illegal aliens. They chose to bring their adult son and 2 children with them. The family unit illegally entered the United States in 2023 near Brownsville, Texas, and were released into the country by the Biden administration. Unlike the previous administration, the Trump administration is not going to ignore the rule of law. ICE does not separate families. Parents are asked if they want to be removed with their children, or ICE will place the children with a safe person the parent designates. Antonio Gamez-Cuellar, an 18-year-old adult male, is being held at the Valle Detention Center. In strict accordance with ICE policy, adult males without children are not housed at the Dilley facility for the safety of the children inside the facility." So just to recap, Antonio Gamez-Cuellar, the 18-year-old adult male that DHS referred to in this statement, has now been released. We are hearing that the family may be released as well from the Dilley facility. We will get more from a reporter. If that happens here, we will bring that to you on Border Report Live. We end at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. So if it happens after that time, we will have more for you on borderreport.com. So make sure to stay tuned and make sure to go ahead and bookmark borderreport.com now so you can get that information as soon as we get it. Now, getting back into some other headlines, overnight an appeals court in Washington, D.C. blocked a controversial change to the immigration appeals process implemented by the Trump administration that would have fast-tracked deportation appeals. The court's ruling comes as it was set to take effect today. The U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia says the Trump administration cannot eliminate meaningful appellate review before the Board of Immigration Appeals. Several groups sued to stop the fast-track process, including the American Immigration Council and a group known as Democracy Forward. Trump's firing last week of Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem could reopen talks to end the partial government shutdown, which has been going on for over 3 weeks, according to reporting today by our partners at The Hill. The shutdown this weekend caused long waits at airports, including in Houston and New Orleans. TSA agents are among those working without pay. Republican Senate Majority Leader John Thune of South Dakota says Noem's departure is, quote, a major step, and he says it should move negotiations closer. You may remember, as we've reported here, that shutdown started on February 14th as lawmakers could not agree on funding for DHS for fiscal year 2026. Democrats want less money spent on deportations and detentions and more regulations on ICE agents and safeguards for communities. Last week, 4 Democrats voted with Republicans in the House on DHS spending. That was the same day that Trump announced he's replacing Noem with Republican Oklahoma Senator Mark Wayne Mullen to lead the agency. Noem's last day is March 31st. That's a look at that breaking news. As again, we'll bring you more as we get it here on Border Report Live, and make sure to click on borderreport.com for the latest that's happening now in the Dilley facility, just about 90 miles south of San Antonio. For now, though, we've got lots left in this edition, and we're going to get right back to it after a quick break. Border Report Live is back in 2 minutes. Welcome back to this edition of Border Report Live. Getting into some border economics now. As we told you on Friday, 600 jobs in Brownsville, Texas will be eliminated. A company that operates maquiladoras on both sides of the border announced this last week. They're also laying off thousands of workers south of the border. Our Border Report's South Texas correspondent Sandra Sanchez explains how this could affect the border economies. She spoke with officials at the McAllen International Economic Summit on Friday in McAllen.
The McAllen Economic Summit this year focused on AI, automation, maquiladoras, and bilateral businesses in the United States and Mexico. But what happens now that a major maquiladora south of the border has announced nearly 2,000 layoffs on both sides of the border?
Yes, there's a river that divides us, but frankly, there's so much business that comes from Mexico here to this side of the valley. And then also, if you think about all the trade that goes across our border, we are partners in so many ways.
UTRGV Senior Vice President of Government and Community Relations Veronica Gonzalez says she's not worried about the job losses in Brownsville and Matamoros because she says new businesses are always coming from Mexico.
Where the jobs that are being lost, there's jobs that are replacing those as well. And the times have changed so much that now the jobs are different. I mean, we're looking at a lot of more AI. We're looking at students being trained in things that before we never had seen.
UTRGV has a global soft landing program to help businesses relocate to the U.S. She says many are coming from Mexico, where the economy has suffered a slowdown. The Port of Brownsville, however, is booming. Port officials say it generated over 100,000 jobs in 2024. McAllen City Manager Isaac Tawil told participants this is an incredible region
that is ready to explode.
Data out this week by the Council for South Texas Economic Progress says there are 315 manufacturers on both sides of the Rio Grande from Brownsville to Laredo. Texas Workforce Commissioner Alberto Trevino of Harlingen says employees need to be trained in new ways to get these new jobs.
People are moving to different jobs, different opportunities, and with that, we need the training.
Trevino is the labor commissioner. He says increased AI requires retraining and new perspectives.
Overnight, 600 jobs on the U.S. side cut from Brownsville. I mean, should the community be concerned?
Well, it's a way of course, to be concerned, but not to panic, because there are still a lot of jobs that are available here. It's just reskilling and retraining those people to get new jobs.
Nationwide, 92,000 jobs were lost in February, according to data out Friday. But officials here aren't worried.
I'm optimistic. I think the Rio Grande Valley is it is really about to hit a boom.
In McAllen, Texas, Sandra Sanchez, Border Report.
And that's not the only local border economy hurting right now. Baja California also is losing tourists after Jalisco cartel leader in the Mesio El Mencho Oseguera was killed on February 22nd. Here to tell us more about that is our San Diego correspondent Salvador Rivera. Sal?
Rudy, you might recall that after El Mencho was killed on February the 22nd, there was a day and a half of mayhem, arson, a lot of things happening in 22 states throughout Mexico. The Jalisco cartel was seeking revenge, or actually sending a message to the governments in 22 states of Mexico saying, if you keep this up, we can retaliate and create a lot of problems for you. Baja California certainly was one of those states that where the Jalisco Nueva Generación cartel had a presence. Some of its members created a lot of problems. 19 vehicles, including buses, semi-trucks, and cars were set on fire. Several stores were also set on fire. Again, a message to governments to lay off all these things that were going on against the cartel. But this has created a lasting effect. A lot of people are staying away from Baja, and by people I mean tourists, visitors from north of the border. A lot of people from Southern California are canceling their reservations or just leaving the area altogether. They're not visiting places such as the Valle of Guadalupe, where it's a huge wine area. It's known for its wines. It's one of the best wine areas around the world. It manufactures wines that are best worldwide. So a lot of people have decided to stay away because they are afraid of the mayhem, the arson that took place in the days after El Mencho was killed. Also, the medical tourism sector, Rudy, is saying that they are seeing a lot less people coming across the border seeking medical, dental procedures because, again, people are afraid to cross the border of a lot of uncertain times. Folks are concerned that chaos might break out at any moment and they may be in harm's way.
You know, another economic aspect we've talked about a lot here on Border Report Live is that new English-only requirement here in the United States for truck drivers. I understand that Mexican truckers in Tijuana are also having a tough time with this.
Yes. Rudy, a lot of truckers, and throughout the southern border, we see truckers going back and forth. They are the lifeline of the border economy. They move goods and services, products, a lot, millions and millions of products every day. And the truckers are saying, we're having a problem because we don't have the English proficiency that President Trump wants us to have. A lot of truckers are saying we just can't pass these field tests that are being given, and we become targets for losing our driver's licenses or business licenses to be able to drive north of the border. These are truckers who have been doing it for 10, 15, 20 years who are reporting having issues with the English proficiency requirements. You might recall last year, President Trump signed an executive order reviving a law that was already in the books that mandated that all truck drivers be able to speak enough English to read road signs, also to communicate with law enforcement. And a lot of these drivers are simply not passing the field test, especially in states like Texas and Arkansas. So now the people who are in charge of the trucking companies, the freight corporations are saying that our truckers are having a difficult time. They are losing their jobs, and we are losing a lot of business because of this English requirement that is in place now for drivers north of the border.
And I can only imagine how much money is lost in this process. I remember a few years ago here in the state of Texas when Governor Greg Abbott ordered the Department of Public Safety to basically inspect every single truck that came through our ports of entry. One city here in the Rio Grande Valley, the city of FAR, estimated the daily losses at approximately $6 to $7 billion lost in a single day. And that's just by delaying the trucks from driving over, not just, not including, taking some trucks right out of the economic train that, as you said, kind of is the lifeblood going over over the border here into the United States. I did want to get into another story that you've been working on lately. You did a story about court observers in San Diego, but they're running into trouble lately. Can you start by telling us what court observers are?
These are volunteers, groups of volunteers. They are retired. A lot of them are former military men and women who are looking to do something with their lives, and they feel that they are being productive by volunteering at the federal courthouse. And what they've been doing for the better part of a year, they go to the courthouse onto the second floor here at the San Diego Federal Building, and they go to the check-in area for people who are showing up for their immigration appointments, and they help them with their rights. They tell them what to expect. They just create an environment that's friendly for them. Well, since the last week or so, these volunteers have been getting a lot of pushback, not from ICE, but from the Federal Protective Service, which is a police department that patrols federal buildings. And these volunteers are saying at the behest of ICE, they are being kept out of the building. And here's a little summary of what's been going on to volunteers who are simply showing up to help people showing up for their immigration appointments.
Bright and early Monday morning, Karen Pohl was outside the Edward Schwartz Federal Building. She would rather be inside.
I stay on the second floor and try to accompany people to their ICE check-in appointments.
Pohl has been doing this for months, but she says her work helping people who are showing up for their immigration appointments has hit a snag.
Several of our volunteers were confronted on the second floor, and there were large signs posted in the passageway indicating that we were violating the Code of Federal Regulations and loitering. They gave them an opportunity to leave, but they decided that they wanted to try to exercise their constitutional rights and stay there to watch what their government's doing. They were all escorted down to the lobby and cited. I was here on shift with another volunteer, and the same thing happened to us as well.
Pohl says she and the others will fight the tickets and the loitering implications.
But that's going to take a while, so I'm here at least on the outside so I can still talk to people and give them information and let them know that we're here to try to help them.
The Federal Protective Service Police, which works with the Department of Homeland Security, issued the tickets. Due to the government shutdown, it could not be reached for comment.
Volunteers like Pohl say they are still on the outside looking in. They are awaiting legal advice to see when, if they can go inside. In the meantime, they will remain on the outside of the building, offering lending support to immigrants who are showing up for their appointments.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your reporting today, Salvador. We appreciate it. Our San Diego correspondent, Salvador Rivera, joining us to talk about a few different topics from economics to issues court observers having in his area of responsibility. Thanks, Sal. Got a few more headlines for you when we return, and we'll bring you anything that we get on those developments of the family being held in ICE detention in the Dilley facility about 90 miles south of San Antonio. Stay with us. Border Report Live is back in 2 minutes. And welcome back to this edition of Border Report Live. Moving on to the war in Iran, Mexico says 629 of its citizens have been evacuated from countries in the Middle East as war rages there. Most of the evacuees left Iran, Israel, Qatar, Lebanon, Jordan, and the United Arab Emirates by land. Mexican embassies working with those nations are directing them to countries they can safely fly out of, according to Mexico's foreign minister. Something that we have been following here, as you may well know if you were a longtime viewer of Border Report Live. If you're new, get used to it. We're talking about the New World screwworm. Now, a Minnesota company has been awarded a $610 million contract to help stop screwworms from spreading north from Mexico across the border into Texas. M.A. Mortensen Company in Minneapolis will work with the Department of Agriculture's domestic New World screwworm sterile insect production facility at Moore Air Base in Edinburgh, Texas, about 40 miles to our west. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers announced the contract on Friday. Now, New World screwworms are flies that lay deadly larvae in the wounds of animals, pets, and can even lay them in people. The screws on the larva cause infection and can kill cattle in as little as 2 weeks. CBP currently has a ban on all livestock imports from Mexico. The USDA reported as of March 4th, Mexico had fewer than 1,000 active cases of screwworm, according to their live website. If you'd like to take a look at that live website, you can find that at borderreport.com. So if your body clock is slightly off today, you're not alone. Most of the country lost an hour this weekend as we sprang forward for daylight savings time. But Hawaii and the border state of Arizona did not. Now, dozens of other states have tried to lock their clocks in recent years, including the nearly 20 that have enacted laws calling for permanent daylight saving time. However, federal law only allows states to opt for permanent standard time. through legislation introduced in Congress, legislation introduced in Congress last year could change that. Really quick, wanted to remind you that you can always stay informed on the stories shaping the U.S.-Mexico border in podcast form. We bring you real live time updates, expert insights, and voices from both sides of the border at those apps at the bottom of your screen. That's going to do it for us today. For our continuing coverage on this family being held at the Dilley facility, visit borderreport.com. For Salvador Rivera in San Diego, I'm Rudy Mireles. We'll see you next time.